One, two.
How are we seated? It's just behind
Almost end of the mics. Almost end of the mics. Almost end of the mics.
Yes.
How are you?
At least the gods are giving us some reprieve from the weather.
Some reprieve for tomorrow.
Yeah, they said so in the morning that there is 60% whatever. Yo. Yo.
Yes. You don't want to be embroiled in the frame. All right, okay. No, thank you very much. Everyone who is part of the media briefing, they can just settle down so that we can begin. The P20 Women's Meeting is on break for 1 hour for lunch, and it will resume at 1 o'clock. So between 12 and 1 o'clock is the media briefing on the P20 Parliamentary Speakers Summit, State of Readiness by the presiding officers. So anyone who is not part of the media briefing can vacate, and we close. Can we please close the doors so that we can begin? Thank you very much. I take this opportunity to welcome you to this important media briefing called by the presiding officers of Parliament to brief the media on the state of readiness to host the P20 Speaker Summit, the 11th G20 Parliamentary Speaker Summit that is scheduled from tomorrow to Friday, the 1st to the 3rd of October 2025. I'm sure the members of the media will have realized that this is a very busy place, meaning that we have had or we are busy with the two events that are taking place simultaneously since yesterday until today. Those are the P20 Youth Parliamentarians meeting as well as the second P20 meeting. of women parliamentarians. So those are taking place, and they are taking place before the actual main event that is taking place, that is beginning tomorrow. So may I take this opportunity to welcome you, to welcome the members of the media who have to travel all the way from Cape Town. We also welcome the members of the media who couldn't be here, but they are joining us on our virtual platforms or streaming platforms. I wish to introduce the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Mayor Toguridiza, also the Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Mayor Refilio Mtsweni-Tsipane. They are joined by the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Mayor Dr. Anneli Lotriet, the Deputy Chairperson of the NCOP, the less Governor, the Secretary to Parliament, the Kolile George. I also wish to recognize the presence in the room of the House Chairpersons, the House Chairperson for committees in the National Council of Provinces, Dennis Ryder, the Chairperson for Internal Arrangements in the National Assembly, Werner Horn. You're welcome. Not sure if I'm missing any other House Chairperson, but we will continue to introduce and recognize as they join us. But we are also joined by the honorable chairpersons of the various oversight committees of Parliament that have been attending both the youth parliamentary meetings as well as the P20 women parliamentarian meetings. The chairperson, Mahuma Belu, chairperson Dinapule, chairperson Mhlaule, chairperson Gancho, chairperson Van der Merwe, chairperson Dujwa, chairperson Lachanyani, chairperson Ndlovu, chairperson Finis, chairperson Mananiso. We will continue to introduce and to recognize more chairpersons as we go along. Without any waste of time, I'm going to invite the Speaker of the National Assembly to present the statement of the presiding officers on the state of readiness to host the Speakers Summit. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Mutapo, our Program Director for this session. I'd also like to greet all the members of the media who are here with us today, those who are here and those who are online. It is indeed a pleasure that you have been able to trek from Cape Town to come to Kleinmond here at Arabella where we are hosting. It's no more about whether we are still going to host, but already the sessions have started, both of the women's and the youth parliamentarians who are part of the P20 activities. We take this immense opportunity in hosting the first ever P20 summit on African soil. This event marks a historic milestone and a unique opportunity to showcase the continent's extraordinary potential, its people, and economic prospects. The hosting of events of this magnitude reaffirms Parliament's commitment to positioning South Africa as a rallying point for diplomacy, inclusive development, and investment. P20 as the parliamentary dimension to the G20 provides a platform for speakers and presiding officers of parliaments from the G20 countries together with their parliamentarians to deliberate on how legislative bodies can contribute to the formulation and implementation of G20 decisions. South Africa's G20 presidency in 2025 presents a historic opportunity not only for our nation, but for the African continent. As you know that the African Union is now a permanent member of the G20. We are therefore in a unique position to ensure that Africa's perspectives, priorities, and solutions are fully integrated in the global agenda. In preparation of the summit, we held two symposia with the Pan-African Parliament, led by our chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, which was focusing on the theme of the G20. Yesterday and the day before, we had the Pan-African speakers meeting, which also made their inputs on the PAP's agenda in terms of what their expectations are of the outcome of the G20 held in South Africa. And we trust that those engagements have prepared us enough to carry the perspectives of the African continent. Also, in July this year, we held two consultations where we had the Women's Parliament as well as the Youth Parliament. Both of those didn't only include parliamentarians, but also other stakeholders to deliberate on the P20 theme so that they influence South Africa's position in the P20. In the beginning of this conference, we started yesterday with the Young Parliamentarians Conference, which finishes today, where young people from the G20 member countries again were reflecting on how, as young people, can contribute towards economic development, parliamentary democracy, diplomacy rather, solidarity, and climate resistance, included in our theme as sustainability. Women's conference has just adjourned now for their break. They also started yesterday, and they are continuing to explore all of these issues from a perspective of women. How can they contribute towards this deliberation of G20 2025? And it is our hope that the outcomes of both conferences will enrich the Speakers' Summit and therefore enrich the Leaders' Summit, which will take place in November here in South Africa. The summit is held under the theme, I quote, "Harnessing Parliamentary Diplomacy for the Realization of Global Solidarity, Equality, and Sustainability." This theme is especially relevant in today's climate of global uncertainties. With ongoing unrest in South Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo, the conflict in Palestine, the war between Russia and Ukraine, and trade tensions such as tariffs and sanctions affecting global economic stability, the summit provides an important opportunity for parliaments to commit to concrete actions that advance peace, equity, and sustainable development. As I've indicated, the dates of the Women's and Youth Conference started on the 29th of September to 30 September. And tomorrow we will be starting with the Speaker Summit, which will start from the 1st to the 3rd. The Women's Parliamentarians Conference is championing gender equality in policymaking, looking at issues of disaster resilience, issues of just energy transition, financing, and women's economic empowerment. These sessions have been explored in yesterday and continues till today. Part of those issues are looking at how our development, particularly economic development, become inclusive of women and men equally. It also looks at issues of how governments can actually address issues of gender budgeting and making sure that when we look at the expenditures of our parliaments and how the different portfolios are spending their resources, we also look with a very gender lens eye as to how women in particular in these areas are actually supported. The involvement of young parliamentarians of the P20, in our view, brings fresh perspective on innovative solutions in addressing national, regional, and global challenges. These range from climate action, youth employment, to entrepreneurship and inclusive governance, ensuring the voices of the next generation shape global decision-making. Young parliamentarians have the potential, in our view, to bring the gap between parliaments and young people, fostering greater political engagements and participation amongst young people. With half of the world's population under 30, it is essential that the perspectives and interests of young people are represented in the discussions of this 2025 Speakers Summit of the P20. This will ensure that the summit's decisions are inclusive and representative of all age groups.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. May I stand on the established protocol? What are then the desired outcomes of African countries? As hosts, the South African Parliament seeks an outcome where G20 parliaments unanimously pledge to strengthen legislative and oversight mechanisms, ensuring that the national laws and budgets are systematically aligned with gender-responsive frameworks to advance women's empowerment, leadership, and youth participation, particularly in the critical areas of climate policy and economic development. For Africa, the desired outcomes are clear and transformative. Firstly, we seek a definitive shift in how the world manages debt and disasters. The current framework for debt treatment has failed to deliver timely relief, disproportionately burdening African economies. Our collective advocacy will be for urgent reforms to the G20 common framework, including automatic suspension of debt servicing during negotiations and expanding its scope to include vulnerable middle-income countries. This is not merely an economic argument. It is a moral imperative to free up fiscal space for climate adaptation, social programs, and essential development. Secondly, Africa demands to be an active player in the green energy revolution, not a passive beneficiary. While the continent possesses vast renewable potential, it receives a paltry share of global energy investment. We advocate for the summit's endorsement of the G20 Global New Energy Investment Pact for Africa. We will call for G20 nations to translate this into concrete action by investing in regional power pools, strengthening local supply chain, and deploying innovative finance to unlock private capital. Our legislative role will be to enact laws that ensure this transition is truly just, prioritizing women's economic empowerment, youth skills development, and the mandated participation of local communities in the decisions that affect their lives and livelihoods. Thirdly, we insist that our critical minerals become a catalyst for inclusive growth, not further exploitation. The summit's focus on harnessing these minerals for sustainable development is welcome. Africa's goal is to move up the value chain. This means enacting legislations that protects community rights, supports local processing and industrialization, and advocates for partnerships that build a resilient and diversified mineral ecosystem on the continent. The benefits of our natural wealth must be felt by our people through job creation and equitable development. Therefore, insofar as the composition of the delegation, we will welcome speakers of parliaments from all G20 countries. The speakers of South Africa's 9 provincial legislatures will be here with us. The presidents and representatives of the African Union and European Union, as well as other invited parliamentary leaders and observers. The key highlights of the program will entail, amongst others, the head of state of South Africa, President Cyril Ramaphosa, who will address the summit on the 1st of October with the Deputy President, Honorable Paul Mashatile, who's expected to give the closing remarks on the last day. As is custom, there will be a ceremonial handover of the presidency at the end of the to the USA, who will then assume the G20 presidency from the 1st of December. The key topics for this summit will include the strengthening disaster resilience and responses, thereby ensuring readiness, inclusivity, and international cooperation in disaster risk reduction. The ensuring debt sustainability for low-income countries, which will then advocate for transparency, accountability, and debt relief mechanisms that protect vulnerable economies. That topic will be around mobilizing finance for a just energy transition by securing funding for climate adaptation and mitigation while protecting vulnerable communities. The last topic will be around harnessing critical minerals for inclusive growth and sustainable development by ensuring that mineral wealth benefits local communities, respects human rights, and drives equitable development. On the logistics, we want to confirm that logistical security and diplomatic arrangements are well advanced. Through collaboration with government, the diplomatic corps and private stakeholders, we are ready to host a summit that is secure, warm, inclusive, and impactful, showcasing South Africa's democracy, cultural richness, and leadership. Parliament has worked very closely with our partners in government, the diplomatic community, and the private sector to ensure that the summit provide a platform for meaningful and solutions-driven dialogue and showcase South Africa's beauty, culture, and democratic values to the world. Regarding accreditation of members from local and international media, we received a total of 109 applicants. Following a thorough and meticulous vetting process, a total of 105 bona fide members of the media have been approved to attend. The list of approved applications has been published on the Parliament's website and the P20 webpage for ease of reference. The participation of the media in the P20 summit is of utmost importance. It embodies the principles of openness, transparency, and accountability, which are foundational to our democracy. The media plays an indispensable role in ensuring that parliamentary proceedings are communicated effectively and accurately to the people of South Africa and the world. We urge all accredited members of the media to collect their accreditation badges early at 100 Plain Street to avoid last-minute delays. As we conclude, the 11th P20 will be a summit of action, not just aspirations. South Africa aims to consolidate parliamentary contributions to eradicating poverty, promoting gender equality, enabling just transitions, and reshaping global governance, ensuring parliamentary diplomacy drives real outcomes. The expected outcomes of the 11th P20 Speakers Summit include a declaration of the 11th P20 Speakers Summit, adoption of the Cape Town Declaration of second P20 meeting of women parliamentarians, and adoption of the P20 Young Parliamentarians Outcome Statement. As hosts, we take pride in the fact that the outcomes of this summit will contribute to shaping the G20 summit in November. Our vision is to leave a legacy of strengthened parliamentary diplomacy where legislatures play a pivotal role in forging a more just, peaceful, and sustainable global order. We look forward to working with the media and the global parliamentary community to amplify this summit's message that democracy, inclusivity, and justice are essential foundation for a sustainable future. We invite the media to follow the proceedings very closely as South Africa steps onto a global stage, not only as a participant, but as a convener and a bridge builder between nations, regions, and the people. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces. Thank you very much for that opening statement. Ladies and gentlemen, we did indicate that we will continue to recognize, I want to recognize the presence as well of the Secretary of the National Assembly, Mr. Klaso, the Secretary of the National Council of Provinces, Advocate Pindela, members of the management team, the project manager for P20, Mr. Stole, and also I see the presence of the Secretary of the KZN Legislature, Ms. Naidu. Thank you very much. We are going to now proceed to the questions. We do have the media, as we've said in the introduction, physically present here, and there are those who are on the virtual platform. Those who are on the virtual platform, please use the WhatsApp, the media WhatsApp group to deposit your questions there. Don't send them on my cell phone. I don't have a cell phone with me. So send them on the WhatsApp group, please, so that we don't miss any question. And we will ask, she will check with Shitla Mariso, our voiceover artist, to verbalize them when the time comes. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? You'll be the first, Jason. Lindsay, you'll be the second. Any other question? And then you'll be the third. Okay, in that order.
Thank you, Moloto. Thank you, Speaker, NCOP Chair, Jason Felix, News 24. I just have one question. Given that South Africa, or our Parliament, hands over this P20 chairship to the United States, have they confirmed that they will be attending the event starting tomorrow, number one, and who will be representing the United States? Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News. Two questions. Firstly, traditionally we see diplomatic relations really being driven by the Department of International Relations and from the executive. Can you give us a practical example of how you think Parliament can step into that role that you've spoken about of global diplomacy? And secondly, you spoke about budgets being more aligned to the goals that you are discussing here, gender-related, etc. There has been criticism in the past that parliamentarians are perhaps not fully, when you use the word capable, maybe don't fully understand how much influence they can have on a budgetary process. How do you think this particular forum can assist in how our parliamentarians move forward in terms of looking at a budget with the lens, as you spoke of, with the goals that you have in mind? Thank you.
Thanks, Moloto. Bongwe Kobogana from the SABC. I just want to check how the deliberations of this summit will be converted to be implemented to the tangible lived realities of the people outside. I think the Deputy Speaker yesterday, Dr. Anneli Lotriti, have mentioned that there is a need, legislatively speaking, an implementation of these gathering, not just become a talk shop. Thank you so much.
Fix it so that, okay, when the presiding officers come, don't have a problem. Can we then get questions on the virtual platform? Are there any questions on the WhatsApp group? No questions on the WhatsApp group. Okay. Speaker?
Thank you very much, and thanks to the representative of the media that have asked the question. Firstly, it relates to about how, as Parliament, we are going to hand over to the next host of the G20, which is the United States. We have been informed by the United States that there will be 4 representatives that will be coming to a meeting, but not at a speaker's level, but as members of Parliament, and others will be coming from the embassy, and therefore that handover will be done. Secondly, I must say that even in all other countries, there are some countries that are sending speakers, others are sending deputy speakers, others who are bicameral parliaments like ourselves. Like in this meeting of the women, we had 2 deputy speakers from the United Kingdom, one coming from the House of Lords and one coming from the House of Commons. And the Speaker of the House of Commons is actually coming. So you'll find that the representation from different countries will be either at a speaker's level or deputy speaker's level. And where that doesn't obtain, it will be a delegation led by the members of Parliament and or the ambassador of that specific country. So I think that covers that question. The other question that has been raised is how does Parliament step into the role of playing a diplomatic relations? I must say that it's not about stepping in, it's what has always been there. Parliament actually is part of the multilateral fora, the Inter-Parliamentary Union. We participate, we are a member, and that is one of the fora that allows us to influence, international agenda, but also share experiences with other parliamentarians globally. It also enables us, as part of those instruments, to be part of critical, areas of interventions. You will recall that in the past 2 years, South Africa was part of the team that was led through the IPU to engage with both Russia and Ukraine parliaments to try and see whether there can be opportunities for a peace settlement. Also, in terms of the Sahel region, the IPU has been engaged in talking to those countries where there was a change of guard through a coup to find a way in which they work through the parliaments to return to more normalcy and go for elections. So that role has been played. Parliament is part of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, both in the Africa region, but also internationally, led by our chairperson of the National Council of Provinces. Actually, at the end of the summit, most of the speakers will be here, will be exiting to Barbados, which is hosting the next Commonwealth International Conference. We're part of the Pan-African Parliament, which is a regional body of parliamentarians in the continent. We're also part of the Southern African Development Community, which is part of the regional body. And actually this year, in December, South Africa will be hosting SADC. So through those engagements, Parliament have been ensuring that they, on one hand, project and promote South Africa's foreign policy, but at the same time, ensuring that we influence the international agenda in various ways on issues of trade, on issues of conflict and peace, on issues of human rights. If I were to also share with you, on an annual basis, we've got a consultation meeting between South African Parliament and the European Union Parliament where we'd look at issues of trade relations, for instance. Early this year, South Africa was hosting that consultation. Towards later this year, the EU will be hosting that consultation. So in a range of ways, Parliament does have a diplomatic role that they play in ensuring that we're able to influence the various agendas. You're raising the issue about how, as South Africa, we will make sure that the outcomes of this conference are actually integrated in our day-to-day. And more specifically, you've raised the issue of the power of parliamentarians in terms of the budgeting process. Actually, as South Africans, we would say this year it's one of the ways in which parliamentarians really flex their muscle in terms of how the budgeting process ought to happen, demanding transparency on the size of the revenue, but also making critical interventions on what they felt will affect the citizenry in a negative way. You'd recall the issue of the VAT increase or non-increase. That was parliamentarians who played that role in their diverse formations, maybe coming at it in different ways, but both those that went to court, even those that did not go to court but engaged the ministry. It was, again, an indication that Parliament is able and has the capability to influence national policy, but also ensuring oversight and accountability. We do that in terms of the various committees. The committee chairpersons are here, where presentations of strategic plan by different ministries will be done. Parliamentarians will scrutinize the strat plans, will scrutinize the reports annually, would also on a quarterly basis hold ministers to account on their annual performance plan per quarter as to how have they, progress on what they had committed to do, but also demands question where such has not been done. They scrutinize the Auditor General's report. And in most instances, if you listen to parliamentary portfolio committees and select committees, they would actually ask very pointed questions and demanding answers from the executive in terms of their spending or not spending. You would recall actually earlier this year again, where this NCOP particularly raised the question to the Ministry of Finance as to how they have factored in the inputs of the Fiscal Framework Commission, because in terms of the budget process of South Africa, that commission has a role in terms of making inputs to the budget process. I'm just flagging these to actually show that Parliament is very clear about its role and very robust. You have seen the municipalities which had adverse finding from the Auditor General demanding what has happened to the resources expended and why, in some instances, resources expended have not been spent. And I'm sure that through the experiences of other G20 member states about how they've really developed tools to make sure that gender budgeting and gender expenditure, because I think that's important. It's one thing to budget, but it's one thing to examine whether the expenditure has really gone to impact on women and other vulnerable communities which might have been identified. And it is our view that at the end of this summit, the delegation from South Africa and the organizing committee will actually sit down, take stock, and say, out of these outcomes, as a legislature, how do we actually ensure that we mainstream them in our program, and on an annual basis, we can take stock and say, how far have we gone? If there are challenges, what do we need to do better? Thank you.
All right. No, thank you very much. I think we are, I don't have a time with me, but I think it's 1 o'clock or almost 1 o'clock. The women parliamentarians are coming back. So let me take this opportunity to thank the presiding officers, Speaker, Chairperson, Deputy Speaker, Deputy Chair, Secretary to Parliament. Thank you very much, House Chairpersons and Chairpersons of committees. Thank you to the members of the media for traveling all the way. We know that it's not very easy. Please be reminded that the opening session of the 11th G20 Parliamentary Speakers Summit is tomorrow at 9 to the President of the Republic to give a keynote address at that session. It is at Benguela. It's just a stone throw from here, just around the corner. So there are daily shuttles for the members of the media leaving Parliament in the morning. I think you know about the time of departure. So those who do not have accommodation here will be assisting you with daily shuttling. But thank you very much for your attendance. The statement of the presiding officers will be disseminated on all the platforms, including the WhatsApp group. Thank you very much. PCS colleagues, please come to prepare the stage for the women. Thank you very much.
Okay.